All right. So, as we all expected, Cam Ward is now a Tennessee Titan, and I think this is a good pick for them. I think it's a good pick ultimately for Cam Ward's fantasy value. Look, he's somebody who likes to throw down the field aggressively. He runs when he gets in the red zone. Like, he's not a crazy dual threat, but he will use his legs when he gets in close. And you think about Brian Callahan, who wants to push the ball downfield. Ultimately, I think this is a good landing spot. Fantasy-wise, though, redraft, let's be clear. The Titans are a work in progress, let's be kind. They were 31st in quarterback points last year, in fantasy quarterback points. Now, they do have Calvin Ridley, and they did improve the offensive line this offseason, so that's good. And maybe they add a wide receiver in day 2, so that would be good. But after Ridley, we've got Tyler Lockett, my guy Chig Okonkwo, Treylon Burks. You got Calvin Ridley, and then there's not a bunch else. So I think Cam Ward's going to be like a QB 2-3-ish in that 20 to 25 range when all is said and done for this year in redraft, but his dynasty prospects are very bright. Okay. Travis Hunter goes second. We expected that. Travis Hunter goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We did not expect that. So Liam Cohen making moves already. Travis Hunter, now a Jacksonville Jaguar. Look, there's no question about his talent as a wide receiver. It's off the charts. The question is about the playing time. How much playing time is he going to get at wide receiver versus corner, right? Because he's incredibly talented at both positions. And I will say that this is a better landing spot for him than potentially Cleveland. I think it's a better quarterback situation with Trevor Lawrence. And there's not a ton of target competition other than Brian Thomas, who's awesome, right? You've got Parker Washington and Brenton Strange. And, there's not a lot of guys there where you're sort of like, Diandy Brown. So, I will say this. So, right now, I would rank Travis Hunter in that wide receiver 40 range because I think he's going to play kind of a limited amount of snaps at wide receiver because he's going to be playing both ways. That said, when he's on the field, he's not going out there to be a decoy or to block. If he's on the field as a wide receiver, they're going to have packages and targets for him. So right now, wide receiver 40-ish, kind of in the Khalil Shakur, Jaden Reed range. But as camp reports come out and we learn more about his role, you could easily see that move up because his talent is off the charts, and we know Liam Cohen is a guy that can produce fantasy points. We saw it last year in Tampa Bay. We knew Ashton Jeanty was going to go high. We didn't know how high, and now we do. This is a great landing spot for him. Let's be honest. Any spot was a great landing spot for Ashton Jeanty, but especially on the Las Vegas Raiders, which he is now a member of. Think about this. Pete Carroll loves to run, Marshawn Lynch, the whole thing, but also Chip Kelly, the offensive coordinator of the Raiders. He loves to run. He's been a head coach in the NFL for 4 years. 4 different years, Kelly was a head coach in the NFL. He was top 7 in rushing attempts in 3 of those 4 years. And you don't spend a pick this high on a guy like Ashton Jeanty if you're not going to run the hell out of him. What are they going to do? Give the ball to Sincere McCormick or Zamir White? Let's be serious. He's going to get the ball and the ball a ton. He's a good pass catcher. He's a 3-down back. He's not coming off the field. The last 5 running backs that were drafted inside the top 10 overall in the NFL average about 295 touches a year. Ashton Jeanty is going to touch the ball at least 300 times this year. And I'm his running back 4, honestly. Saquon, Bijan, Gibbs, and then I think it's Ashton Jeanty. And by the way, he could even get higher. Unbelievable landing spot for him. And you think about the Raiders with Brock Bowers, Jacoby Myers, Geno is solid, and they'll get him on the move a little bit more under Chip Kelly's offense. It's not the greatest offense. It's a very tough division, but things are starting to look up. If you're a Raiders fan, you should have hope. And this is an awesome, awesome landing spot for Ashton Jeanty, who is clearly a top 5 fantasy running back. Moment 1. He'll go around the end of the first round in most fantasy drafts this August. Okay, so Tet McMillan is now a Carolina Panther. Keep pounding. And fantasy-wise, I think actually a pretty good landing spot for him. Think about this. Carolina last year under Dave Canales, 7th in wide receiver target share. They're going to throw, and they throw to wide receivers. And we think about Canales when he was in Tampa Bay and the fantasy success he had with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. His offense can support 2 fantasy-relevant wide receivers. And then you think about the Carolina Panthers depth chart before Tet gets there, right? You've got Xavier Legette, the first-rounder from last year. Okay, great. Adam Thielen, who we love Adam Thielen, but, a little bit older. Jalen Coker, Cokeheads unite. But the fact is that it's going to be McMillan and Legette. I think he's immediately going to be probably the number 1 target here. I think he probably leads the team in red zone targets or is right there with Legette as well. Bryce Young looked a lot better of the second half of last year as well. So I think My initial thoughts are McMillan's going to be kind of in that wide receiver 30 to 35 range, kind of in the DK Metcalf, Juwan Jennings range. Because good fantasy-friendly offense, solid quarterback, not a lot of target competition, and clearly, as the number one wide receiver drafted, his draft capital is insanely high. A lot of people thought the Bears would take a tight end, and they do, but it's not the one a lot of people mocked. Everyone thought Tyler Warren was going to Chicago. Instead, it's Colston Loveland, who's the first tight end off the board and the new tight end for Ben Johnson's offense. As a landing spot, don't love it. I mean, don't hate it, but don't love it. There is a decent amount of target competition on Chicago. You've got Rome Odunze, you've got DJ Moore, and I think this is going to be a fairly balanced offense. Think about Detroit last year under Ben Johnson. They were more run heavy than I think people ever give them credit for. Now, I think some of that was Dan Campbell's influence, but still, my expectation is in Chicago, it's not going to be a pass-happy offense for the Bears. I think it's going to be more balanced, and so you don't see a ton of volume. Having said that, I've seen Colston Loveland compared to Sam Laporta, maybe to Mark Andrews, and so, you think about what Ben Johnson did with Laporta in Detroit sort of makes sense here. Rankings-wise, I think he's probably in the top, he's like in the 10 to 12 range, like low-end tight end one. There's obviously some upside there, but again, I don't think it's going to be a massive passing offense, and there is target competition, but seriously, he's a great pass catcher. He's right there with Tyler Warren in terms of his prospect here. And obviously the Bears using a top 10 overall pick there. They believe in this kid. All right, you know what? I'm not thrilled. Tyler Warren to the Colts. I'm not thrilled. All right, look, we knew the Colts wanted to get a tight end, right? And they went and got one. When Loveland went to the Bears, Warren was there for the taking at 14, and they go ahead and do that. And I guess if you want to put a positive spin on this, is that, Shane Steichen has had success with tight ends when you think about Philadelphia, and he's openly talked about how they need more production from that position. So, they're using, top 15 pick on a guy that a lot of people had as the number one tight end in this draft, somebody who's super productive in college, somebody who can also, take the ball as a quarterback in short yardage situation kind of thing. But then you look, they're at the Colts. You know what I mean? Like, they don't need somebody to take it in short yardage. They got Anthony Richardson. They got Jonathan Taylor. They want to be run heavy. Oh, by the way, they've also got Michael Pittman and Josh Downs and A.D. Mitchell and Alec Pierce. And they've just got a lot of mouths to feed, and a quarterback that so far in his NFL career has been fairly inaccurate in Anthony Richardson. Now, maybe Daniel Jones starts, but, man. And you're saying, wow, Barry, you seem very upset about this. Are you somebody that might have Tyler Warren in a dynasty league? You might be right about that. Ultimately, Tyler Warren's going to be fine. He's a superstar player. He's going to be great. But I think, and he'll be fine in dynasty. But redraft-wise, I don't think he's a top 15 tight end. I'm nervous about the quarterback situation. I'm nervous about this offense that I think was going to be more run-heavy. I'm nervous about the target share. I just don't love it. Don't love it. I'm not going to lie to you. This is not where I wanted Omarion Hampton to go this year. Now, I understand the Chargers don't care about our little needs here in the world of fantasy football, and rightfully so. But for redraft this year, this is not a great landing spot for Omarion Hampton. Dynasty-wise, it's awesome. We know that Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman love to run the ball, right? Last year, top 12 in running back rush touchdowns and running back rush attempts. They like to run the ball, and they're going to run the ball this year. But the issue is they've got Najee Harris there. And Najee Harris, one of the positives of Najee Harris is he never gets hurt. He's always available. And so they're going to use him this year. Now it's a one-year deal. So, again, the future is very bright for Omarion Hampton. But this year, I think they're going to split the work. Now, I'm going to have Hampton ranked over Harris. I think he's going to be the more explosive running back. I think they're going to use him more. But I promise you, Harris isn't going to go away. And here's the other issue, right? That for as much as they're top 12 in running back carries, running back rushing touchdowns, they were 31st in running back target share. The Chargers don't throw to their running backs. That's the issue. So basically what you've got is Najee Harris and Omarion Hampton splitting downs 1 and 2. I just don't see either of those guys on down 3 getting a lot of work this year. Now, again, Hampton over Harris for me, but, we were all saying, Najee Harris, RB1 maybe this year. It's going to be all him. Not so much. Like now, and Hampton, had he gone to like Denver or Dallas, we'd all be excited too. But unfortunately, I'm not going to have either guy inside my top 20. They're both going to be flex plays this year, as long as they're both healthy, and that's the expectation. They both will be. They're going to be splitting a heavy workload, but still, like, not ideal for this year. Okay, Josh Jacobs says, hey, Green Bay, we need a number 1 wide receiver. But did they get one? They draft Matthew Golden, and Matthew Golden's super talented. He's really fast. You think about the Christian Watson injury. This makes sense from an NFL perspective. But fantasy-wise, I'm not convinced Matthew Golden is like a true alpha wide receiver 1, at least at the next level. Like, never had a 1,000-yard season in college. And so while incredibly talented, I get it, and I think this is a good NFL move for the Packers. I just sort of think like you got Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks and Tucker Kraft and Romeo Dobbs, and there's just like a mouths to feed on an offense that wants to be centered around Josh Jacobs in the run game. And so this is good for Jordan Love's fantasy value. And I think there'll be some really nice games for Matthew Golden during the season. But I think it's one of those things that like every week we're going to be like, is this a Jaden Reed week? Is this a Matthew Golden week? It's going to be tough, and so it's hard for me to put Matthew Golden anywhere near like my top 40 wide receivers. And maybe if we get some news, maybe he starts emerging. You could see him over the second half of the year as he starts to establish himself. But I think fantasy-wise, his production is going to be inconsistent this year in redraft, like all Packers wide receivers' production is because they spread it around and it's a run-first offense.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotorWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.